Hello friends, I'm Swapna, faculty in Biological Sciences, working in Pananiya Mahavidyalaya College of Education. Today my topic on e-module is pedagogical shift. So first of all, we have to know what is meant by pedagogical shift. Pedagogical shift is considered for the better academics of the learners in the classroom. Effective planning and teaching learning environments are essential for better teaching learning experience. There is an argument need to build up activities and strategies that are effective not just for a range of science content areas but also productive for exploring and challenging learners' conceptions. It is important to listen to learners and encourage them to engage in assessing and evaluating their own ideas. The importance of social cultural perspectives that focuses on the way learners' differentiation and cultural background shaping their learning experience cannot be undermined. For the learning environments to be effective, there should be systematic construction of knowledge among learners, providing ability and experience of the teacher is considered. Planning for teaching learning experience help to think deeply and focus these experiences to the learner rather than on the delivery of the lesson. So the main objective of this paradigm shift is to encourage this paradigm shift from original teaching learning process among teachers and learners. It is to encourage and provide guidelines for teaching learning facts, principles, theories, and processes in biological science. And it is to provide experiential learning among students in the class during the process of teaching learning process. It also helps the teacher in designing teaching and learning experiences and the main aims and objectives of the lesson or the unit. It is also helpful in facilitating each learner learning incorporate the differential learning pace among learners. And it also helps in to create ability among students by the teachers for each topic in designing the learner's needs, their existing concepts, the context in the learning, local and national nature of the curriculum, etc. When we describe this pedagogical shift, we can understand the planning for the teaching learning is essential for systematic construction of knowledge. The period plan reveals the approach of teaching and also mastery of the teacher over the subject. Teachers need to develop the ability to plan units of 4 or 5 lessons for each topic. They need to understand how to develop lesson design so that the learners are challenged to think and try out what they are learning and not simply repeating what is told to them. In fact, teachers could also consider involving learners in planning the classwork. Such variety can bring tremendous richness to the classroom processes. The paradigm shift discussed above have, however, encouraged the teacher to shift the focus from traditional to the constructivist approach. This change in focus has also given rise to some confusion on the role of approaches of planning. For example, starting to plan from where the learner is at present, this can be confused with going with the terrifying question about how to start with 30 plus children in a class having different experiences. In the first go, it seems impractical and scary for even most experienced teachers. So, what does the planning means right now? Before discussing the aspects of planning, we can have to look at the change in the nature of questions that needs to be answered before and after the shift. Before shift, there prevailed a centralized planning. However, it is important to reflect upon the shift in planning that can be envisaged in the light of discussion so far. Until very recent times, teachers used to plan for a year at the end of one year or the beginning of the school year, putting a lot of efforts in planning for interruptions such as sports day and other vacations, carefully deciding about the content to be covered throughout the year. dividing the content into the various week-based units and chunks, getting down to specific topics, examination schedules, etc. This was done when the learners' minds were considered as empty vessels to be filled by the teacher's imparted information. Not only this, there has been a centralized planning of the sort explained here and sending all these centralized plans to be followed by all the teachers in different schools of the stage, region, or state region so that there is a uniformity in what is going on in the classrooms across the region and the state. If that sort of planning could not be followed for any reason, actions were taken against the teachers. This sort of centralized action on the teachers' role on the classroom still prevailing at some places, however, it is to be done away in the interest of the learners. Pedagogical content knowledge has more impact on student achievement than content knowledge. Only pedagogical content knowledge seems to have to be impact on the quality of instructions in higher general pedagogical psychological knowledge, that is higher quality of instructions according to the student perception. For example, learners' willingness to encourage with learning the effect of assessment, nature of school environment, learners' perception about relevance of science in their lives, etc. In fact, the learner must be involved in planning the period which would bring tremendous change to the classroom process. This paradigm shift encourages the teacher to shift the focus from traditional to the constructivist approach. When we see the planning teacher learning before shift, we have few questions like what will I should do, plan to teach, how much know the syllabus, how do I prepare the students for upcoming examination, which concept I consider as a systematic way to deliver in the class, what objectives are to be used for assessing and measuring performance of the students, when and how to plan the measurement of the learning integrating with teaching experiences with respect to my lesson plans, how should I have control on the students, how can I transmit knowledge to the best, who are the students who are succeeded. So this was seen before shift, but after shift we have seen so many changes in planning teaching learning. So we see these are the aspects where the teacher has focused. What are the learning needs and previous experience of my learners? How much I am acquainted with the learning needs of my learners? How do I facilitate each learner's learning? How do I incorporate the differential learning pace of my learners? What is the progress of the learner as compared to her previous learning experiences? How do I analyze the present learning evidences to plan further learning experiences for the learners? How do I facilitate, support each learner in learning? The best can knowledge can be constructed by all learners. What could be my next plan? So this was the thing, the shift to the new frameworks, which also means that teacher obviously has a lot of liberty in choosing the planning approaches and strategies. This liberty of planning provides flexibility to the teacher to consider students' learning needs, their existing concepts, the context of their learning, local and nation needs, nature of the curriculum, etc. in designing teaching learning experiences. So we shall see some examples of how the learning takes place in the classroom. Example, production of food from animals. When we take the statement 1, the teacher can teach about varied varieties of food in our daily life on the basis of the previous knowledge of the students about food. She can tell about what are the different food items obtained from animals. In the next statement, she can say the the learning area of the production of foods from animals based upon some understanding on the different food items that are obtained from the animals as explored in previous classes. This lesson needs a brief introduction on production of food from animals. So the first part statement assumption is about giving knowledge to the students, and the second statement is about designing teaching learning experience for the students. Much is based on the previous explorations to facilitate the meaning making process. In the examples of the second example, when we talk, we see that the learning goal, the teacher will explain different ways of production of food from animals. In the second statement, she says the children to find answers for the self-formulated questions after self-planning and investigation. Based on the data collected, learner will reasonably communicate the investigation results on production of food from animals. So, the child will try to inquire the questions like, what are the food items that are obtained from animals? Are they obtained directly from the animals or processing is required? What are the animals which are rare for food production? Do we get our food only from domesticated animals? List out the food that can be obtained from animals, discuss in groups, and tabulate the discussion in the notebook. So, in the approach, two approaches, we see the direct to nature and inclusive in nature. So, in the first approach, we recall the various kinds of food obtained from animals, and we'll try to explain and we'll try to give various examples, various types of foods obtained from animals, and we'll try to interpret that it in the absence of animal husbandry what could happen. In the approach 2, we see the learning objectives that we try to inquire the production of food from animals. Like animal husbandry is that where we get food from. The management and breeding of domestic livestock scientifically to achieve desired qualities is animal husbandry. If there is absence of rearing of animals or animal husbandry, then there won't be any production of food from animals. In the example 4, when we see there is lot of pedagogical shifts design. So in the approach 1, the teacher draws conception, the production of food from animals with various aspects of examples of it on the blackboard, and the learner writes his own notebook. In the second approach, we see the local dairy farms, cattle rearing, milk collection centers, and the teacher takes all the students to that place. The students observe various production of areas of food in these places. They try to collect different types of information regarding the animals providing food, shelter, production, and breeding of animals. They also know about since long time man used animals not only for obtaining food but also for agriculture, transportation, etc. After collection of this data regarding animal husbandry, teacher asks the learner to identify different types of animals which are useful to man and record the information. So the child is going to learn about, to all the person who own agriculture feel also rare animals? Is there any relation between agriculture and cattle rearing or animal husbandry, or whether the cattle present all over there, and where what are the differences between the rearing of cow, buffaloes, goats, and sheep, and what are the major problems that cattle rearers generally face. So in these types we will be seeing so much of inquiry. So in the examples which I am going to give you in the next aspect, where we see the students are assessed, evaluated through paper pencil test at the end of the year. The teacher matches the correct answer and give marks. And the approach to the students are evaluated for assessed by the process of continuous and comprehensive evaluation, wherein the learner is assessed by the teacher daily and every activity from the beginning of the year to the end of the year in the name of class participation, interaction, discussions, projects, seminars, etc., by which the questions will be thought-provoking and application oriented. So finally today we have seen that pedagogical shift in biological sciences deals with the strategies of teaching, learning, organizing classroom experiences, knowledge about conception of the learners, and transacting the concepts to diverse groups of learners relating with their preconception so that they can assimilate and accommodate new information to make meaning of it. Teachers need to recognize that With the creation of new knowledge all over the world, socio-cultural and economic condition of our society change, new opportunities of work arise and an aspiration of people grow. This dynamism of society must be reflected in the pedagogy of biological sciences. Today's pedagogy gives values to the voice of learners and their questions, their abilities, and making argumentation, justification, synthesizing, and analyzing knowledge, and their involvement in the process of inquiry science in a collaborative setup rather than in the ability of rote memorization. Consequent to this implementation of NCF 2005, a pedagogical shift is taking place in our country. There is also a shift in our understanding of process of learning about learners in the classrooms. Pedagogical shift from the science as fixed body constructing of knowledge to the process of knowledge. Early nature of the knowledge in general and nature of knowledge in particular was considered as a fixed entity. However, in the contemporary understanding of the nature of the knowledge and nature of the knowing, these are dynamic entities. In this way, today we have seen that what is meant by pedagogical shift. Thank you.